Welcome to the latest edition of New Release Roundup, where we highlight some of the newest additions to the Adult Services collection. Since our August Reading Resolutions challenge is to read a book set in the great outdoors, we'll look at fiction and nonfiction titles that fit our monthly theme. We'll begin with our nonfiction titles. The first is Island of the Lost by Joan Druitt, an extraordinary story of survival at the edge of the world. In 1862, two ships wrecked on the shores of remote Auckland Island, 250 miles south of New Zealand. Though separated by only 20 miles, the island's impassable cliffs keep the two groups of survivors separate. While one crew bands together to build cabins and eventually escape the island, the other crew descends into fighting, starvation, and eventually cannibalism. A fascinating story of survival and human nature, at its best and at its worst. Our second nonfiction title is Blood and Treasure, the story of Daniel Boone and the fight for America's first frontier by Bob Drury and Tom Clavin. In the mid-18th century, American colonists were eager to move beyond the original 13 colonies and waged a series of bloody battles with the Native American tribes who occupied the coveted land beyond the Appalachians. Frontiersman and Revolutionary War hero Daniel Boone explored the land and carved out Boone's Trace, from Virginia's Cumberland Gap into what is now Kentucky. The authors offer vivid portrayals of Boone and others who were key figures in the battle for the first frontier, bringing to life a pivotal and brutal era of American history. We turn our attention from America's first frontier to its last frontier with our third nonfiction selection, The Tip of the Iceberg by Mark Adams. The best-selling travel writer chronicles his 3,000-mile excursion through the Alaskan wilderness, retracing the historic 1899 voyage by railroad magnate Edward Harriman, which introduced Alaska to America. Adams travels on Alaska's state ferries to Glacier Bay, then heads west into the colder and stranger regions of the Aleutian Islands and beyond. His entertaining adventure recounts a breathtaking landscape of astonishing beauty and scale, which draws more than 1 million tourists each year. Turning to fiction, our first new release is also set in Alaska, romantic suspense novel Special Ops Seduction, an Alaska Force novel by Megan Crane. When Bethan Wilcox, one of the first women to make it through Army Ranger School, joins an elite military unit known as Alaska Force, she's thrown together with an unwelcome reminder of her past, fellow soldier Jonas Crow. In a race against time, the pair go undercover to evade a dangerous enemy. But as their feelings toward one another grow, their mission becomes more perilous. Jonas has always been good at saving the world, but it's Bethan he needs to save this time, if she doesn't save him first. Nick MacDonald's The Council of Animals is a captivating fable of a group of animals, survivor of the calamity that has caused the human race to become nearly extinct. As the animals debate about whether to help the last human survivors or eat them, each must reckon with the role humans ascribe to them. Dog as man's closest ally, cat who grudgingly appreciates domesticity, horse who is more interested in sugar cubes than the human's fate, and baboon whose calls for reason hide a mysterious motive. Love animal stories? Mystery thriller The Hiding Place, the latest installment in the Mercy Carr series by Paulette Munier, features rescue dogs, a plucky investigator, a game warden with a past, and plenty of action and intrigue high in the mountains of Vermont. When the man who killed her grandfather escapes from prison and comes after her grandmother, Mercy Carr must unearth the long-buried secrets that threaten to tear her family apart, and she may have to do it without her beloved canine partner Elvis, if his former handler has his way. With time running out, Mercy must team up with game warden Troy Warner and his search and rescue dog Susie Bear to unlock scandals of the past and save her grandmother's life. Fantasy novel The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed is set in a village hidden deep in the woods where every woman is magical except for Avike. An outcast who is blamed for the village's misfortune, Avike is turned over to a band of woodmen who have come to capture a woman as a human sacrifice for the brutal king. But en route to the palace, the party is attacked by monsters, leaving only Avike and a single woodsman, known as the captain, who happens to be the disgraced son of the king. An outcast himself, he and Avike form an alliance to overthrow the king and stop his even crueler successor from claiming the throne. As Avike begins to discover her own hidden magic, she must decide what she's willing to give up for a nation that has never cared for her at all. You can find any of these books in the Adult Services new fiction and new release areas, or if you're interested in placing any of them on hold, give us a call. An Adult Services staff member will be happy to help. That's all for New Release Roundup this week. Have fun, stay safe, and keep on reading.